This video is about the analysis of the skill overhand pitch. The overhand pitch is a skill most commonly seen and used in the sport baseball. It is a basic skill you need to learn before being able to play the game. To start, let's look at the breakdown of movement starting with the planes of motion involved in the three phases. First is the preparation phase, wherein the arm is brought behind the body to gather force. Next is the acceleration phase, where the ball is thrown forward and released, and the follow-through phase, where motion is slowly put to a stop. In these three phases, movement in three planes can be seen. During the release of the ball, flexion and extension of the arms, back, and legs can be seen on sagittal plane, while abduction and adduction, including lateral flexion of the trunk, can be seen on frontal plane, and upper body rotation on the transverse plane.
Let's analyze the movements of joints involved. Once the motion begins, the striding leg is raised towards the body, causing thigh flexion and knee flexion. It is continued by the plantar flexion of the striding foot, while the trunk is rotating to the left for right-handed, and both arms are flexed upward. In the acceleration phase, the shoulder joint of the throwing arm rotates internally, and the arm is extended with the wrist joint. In the follow-through phase, the arm and the wrist joint is flexed, continuing its motion, and the striding leg extends and foot is dorsiflexed.
Now, let's analyze the muscles involved in each phase. In the preparatory phase, the arm is drawn back behind the body. In acceleration phase, the latissimus dorsi, pectoralis major, serratus anterior, subscapularis, and triceps brachii are active. And in the follow-through phase, there is substantial activity in the biceps brachii, brachialis, supraspinatus, and the trapezius.
Before we end, let us summarize the muscle actions exhibited in each phase of the overhand pitch. In the onset of the preparation phase, even before the ball is thrown, our deltoids and supraspinatus are already preparing for abduction in the arm. When our shoulder has almost rotated externally, the latissimus dorsi and the pectoralis major starts to initiate backward arm movement and movement forward. Tension builds up in these muscles through the stretching of the muscle fibers, and reciprocal activity can be noticed in the triceps brachii and the biceps brachii during the peak of elbow flexion. The last two phases is where the muscle actions are being simultaneously exhibited. The acceleration phase is basically characterized by explosive action through elbow extension and internal arm rotation, while the follow-through, muscles involved are being rapidly stretched and eventually stops, signalizing the end of the skill. As sports science majors, knowing the planes of movement involved will also contribute to deeper understanding of how the human body works, which will be beneficial in areas of muscle conditioning and strengthening for future researches. It will also make us avoid risks of potential injury by having a better understanding of even the most basic skill, such as the overhand pitch, and eventually more complex skills. It is important to analyze these things to know how to properly execute the skill and to narrow down specific muscles to be targeted if we want to improve performance.